Hello, folks. This is Molly with Soul School Spiritual Guidance and Healing. It is so good to be back. I've got a new setup here. You'll probably see me adjusting it because I've got way too many planets in Virgo just to accept things as they are. But hey, welcome back to the channel. If you are somebody who's been following me for a while, there's been nothing to follow for quite some time. So I've been feeling the push, not just for my own well-being, but because there is a role that I feel that I'm meant to be playing in all that is happening right now. I just been feeling that push to get back on camera and start delivering these readings to you wonderful, beautiful people in the collective. So welcome back. I've got a new setup. We're just doing face free. I'm not even going to try to deal with all of the inner issues about being seen, etc., etc. So this is my new setup. Welcome. As you guys can see, I have done a little bit of channeling. And so I have a written message that I'm going to share with you that actually comes from the Raw Contact books, The Teaching of the Law of One, also known as the Raw Materials. So I'm going to share with you the message that's coming through here. And then I have several decks out that I was shuffling up just to kind of get them cleaned out, get a new energy flowing through them. Several cards have already popped out. I do have a question in mind. I do have an intention for this reading. So welcome. I'm very, very glad you're here. Let's just go ahead and jump into it. You can probably get a hint of this by the title of the video, whatever that will end up being once I post it. But before I started working on any smaller collectives, maybe working through zodiac signs, etc., etc., I wanted to sit down and do a reading for the collective within the United States. Okay. There are a lot of people out there that would just really prefer to keep the spiritual and the political on different ends of their bookshelves, but we cannot. This is my opinion. In fact, as we get into the message that's coming from our galactic family and our galactic allies, I'm reminded of the fact of the knowledge, much of which I have gained from the works of Lisa Royal Holt. I'm going to be using her Galactic Heritage cards. Lisa Royal Holt talks a lot about our galactic family, about the interdimensional and interplanetary beings that are here to support us in this era of human ascension on the planet Earth. Okay, but as I was putting all of this reading together today with the question on my mind, what the actual heck are we going through right now in the United States? There's just so many things going on. What I was reminded of when it comes to this issue of the spiritual and the political, why are they even here? Why have they come back? Why is our planet currently being surrounded? And why are we drawing attention from beings from all over the galaxy, all over the cosmos? What is it? What energetic hiccup took place that called the attention of the entire cosmos to the planet Earth at this time? It's the nuclear experiment that's been taking place for the last 70 or so years on our planet. Okay, so the political and the spiritual, they're one and the same, you guys. Okay, we don't achieve enlightenment on this planet by just piecing out and sitting on top of a mountaintop and meditating about the world that we want to create. We are being called to act in this moment to create that new world. All right, so let's jump into the channeled message. I started this is today is Happy Juneteenth, is Thursday, June 16th. I started this message at 10:16 a.m. Central Time, and the big push that I've got here is grounding. This is what we need the most right now. I'll talk about some of the cards and how that plays into this message, but right now I'm just gonna get through this, okay? The number one thing that you can do just to be in the place to take the best actions, the right actions for yourself and for our collective is grounding. We've got to start moving our energy into our lower chakras. So right now, what's going on is if you're a person in the United States who is concerned about the state of our country, of our culture, of our society, of our place in the world, if you are one of those people, there is a lot of confusion right now. You know we cannot trust the media, okay? You know there's a lot of information. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and go to the card that popped out from the Ship of Fools Tarot. This is the Seven of Staves, otherwise known as the Seven of Wands. And this generally represents somebody who has like really good defenses, somebody who knows how to block out anything that is not in their best interest. And when it's showing up reversed here, what I'm seeing is that our defenses are not peak right now, okay? We've got so many different energies, so many different pieces of information, different people with different agendas and different perspectives, just spewing information at this time. A lot of it is not good information, but we're being bombarded with it from so many different angles that it becomes overwhelming. We don't know what to trust. We don't know who to trust, okay? But I'll tell you what else came with this card. We do know that we've been here before. This is the Death card reversed, okay? We do know that we have been here before. We have heard it all before. What's going on right now, the pitch that's being pitched to the American people, we have been here before, and we're not really trying to go down that path again. This is very much a not today, Satan, not this time. All right. The phrase death cult is floating around in the media, and I really feel like that's what this skeleton is representing here. This is the American people. We're like, no. We actually have a mess that we're trying to clean up here at home. We have needs that we're trying to prioritize. We are like, no thank you today with the death cult. This is not what we want to put our energy into. We know that, but it's difficult to know how to act when we have all these different sources of information of varying qualities being thrown at us from all directions. When I say information of varying qualities, I'm talking about the veracity, the truthfulness of the information that is being shared with us. So what do we do about it? Grounding. Because all of this thinking, analysis, communication, observation, all of those things take place in our upper chakras, okay? What happens in our lower chakras that we need to be paying attention to? This is the part of the message that guided me towards this book. So I have something I'm going to read to you from the Law of One. All right. So basically we need to move our energy into the lower chakras, because it is our lower chakra, specifically our base chakra, that is the point of contact for energy from the cosmos, okay? Now, a lot of us think if we're going to connect with spirit, if we're going to connect with those external energies that are trying to communicate with us at this time, I'm talking about our galactic family, that in order to communicate with those, maybe we need to be in our upper chakras. We need to be tapping into that third eye and receiving messages. But the information that I learned years ago from this book is that the entry point into our energy body is the root chakra. Okay, so listen to this. The human energy field, and this all comes from session 49.5. If you don't have a copy of these books, you can find this at lawofone.info, LAWOFONE.info. Search up 49.5. You can go right to it and read this for yourself. What Ra explains to us in this session is that the human energy field is a mirror of our planetary energy fields. Okay, so this is part of the as above, so below law of correspondences. But in this metaphor, if you will, the human energy field as the planetary energy field, our root chakra or our base chakra is our south pole. This is the negative or receptive pole. This is the quote that comes from session 49.5 in the book. This center will draw the universal energy into itself from the cosmos. This energy will move upward to be met and reacted to by the positive spiral energy moving downward from within. This positive spiral energy moving downward from within, what they're talking about is our inner divine nature, essentially. If you want to dig into this, there's some discussion about the fact that the crown chakra, aka the north pole of our energy body, is the point at which we are essentially a god. Okay, that is our oneness with all. That is the point at which we are one with all. Okay, the here and now, that's in our base chakra. Okay, but what this message is trying to relay at this point in time is that there's this misconception that spending all your time in your upper chakras is like the most spiritual thing you can do. Yeah, but remember that thing about how like we're not going to change the world by meditating on a mountaintop? We've got to take our own knowledge of our inner divine nature and we've got to move that down into our lower chakras so we can receive the intel in real time. All right? Now, that's exactly the way that this message is being brought to me. Just like the scene that is set up in my mind right now is that this is a part of the revolution. This is a part of the logistics of how do we get the information that we need to act in the moment, move it all down to your root chakra. That is where you're going to be receiving communication from the cosmos. Okay, there is also, I just read a little note, but it's not actually super relevant to this message. But 49.5, 49.6 talks a lot about the makeup of the human energy field. It refers to rays in place of chakras, but it explains to you how the energy body works. So that's just really, really good info. Like I said, not super related to this particular reading, but that's a great resource if you guys are just interested in understanding how the energy body works. Now let's get back to the here and now. What the hecky ante is going on in our country right now. This is, I've already gone over this. We've been here before. Okay, there's so much information flying at us that it's difficult to make sense of it. Okay, this is water and fire. Okay, so emotionally, yeah, it's a lot right now. It is a lot. I don't know if any of you guys, I'm just going to go ahead and let you know, I was born in 1980. I lived through 2001 and what was going on the world stage at that time. I lived through quite critically. I was very, very critical at the time of all the warmongering, but I have lived through that cycle of a war being sold to the American people. I've been through it. If you were there, you were there. If you know, you know, okay? We are not trying to do that again. So what's really happening here, this is from by the way, these are Ship of Fools tarot. This one's coming from the Alchemical Visions tarot. Every time I see this card, it tells a different story. But the one that's being told right now is very, very clear. I just noticed, by the way, that we've got Jupiter it's like sitting in the center of this circle. So I will tell you, I know that I'm pretty sure that Jupiter is moving into Cancer. Cancer is the heart. Cancer is also the home. Okay. This to me, this circle, this collective of people going around in circles to me represents the American public. The same figures that are being assaulted with all of this information and misinformation in this Seven of Staves. I don't know, man. Like, these two pictures rhyme. Do you know what I mean? Very much the same chaotic energy. What's happening here, though, is that these are swords. Swords are our thoughts. I feel like every single person in this line is retiring their belief that we're ever going to be saved by our government. Does that make sense? I feel like there's just our trust and our faith in the narrative. We're not buying it anymore. And that particular energy is being represented by these people walking in a circle and just laying down these swords. That means two things. First of all, we do not want to fight. These are people that do not want to fight. They want to tend to their own wounds. They want to mother themselves and their neighbors. That's what Cancer represents. All right? So I almost see people going through this, just being churned through this like cycle of BS. And just saying, you know what? I'm not even going to say my last care, but my last belief, the last straw that was supporting my belief in this system, I'm laying it down. I'm not just laying down my sword in the sense that I don't want to fight, but I'm literally laying down the last bit of belief that I had in the system. What's going on up here? Okay, these are, of course, literally speaking, Hellenistic gods, but to me, they are representing sort of, I'm just hearing the phrase American gods, okay? And what this means is the narrative that we have been sold that many people did not want to give up on the narrative that, you know, our government is the good guys. People are giving up on that, and the gods are squirming. The quote unquote gods, these false gods, okay? There's actually something really beautiful going on. These sort of false icons of what America stands for they're squirming, first of all. But the animation that I see, because that's the way my clairvoyance works, sometimes they'll like, this scene becomes animated. These begin crumbling away, and there are like other statues behind them that step forth. And those other statues behind them represent the actual ideals upon which this nation was founded. Okay, now, I know. I feel you energetically pushing back and saying, but this nation was founded upon ideals that the people who founded it did not express. They didn't live up to, right? But that doesn't matter because we inherited those ideals and they became central to our values as a people and as a culture. Okay, those ideals are now being assaulted, and that's when we go to the Sacred Traveler. Okay, there is a purpose for this voyage that we are on. While I'm shuffling, you guys, if you feel like you're digging it, definitely like the reading, post a comment, just like engage. That would be super awesome. Kind of welcome me back to the YouTube community. But what was I saying just before this? That's what I do. I try to insert a little like message for myself and then I forget where I was going with this. All right. This has a purpose. All right. Now, I do want to go ahead and include just interject a little bit of like my belief system about the world and about the ascension process that we are going through, okay? Also in the Law of One, you're going to learn a lot about the 7 densities of consciousness. Also very present in the works of Lisa Royal Holt. Okay. My belief is that we are transitioning not from 3rd dimension to 5th dimension, but from 3rd density, which is a naturally very solar plexus centered energy body. I believe that we are transitioning into the 4th density, which is actually going to move us up into being heart chakra centered beings. One of the changes that happens as we undergo that process is that we begin to close out individual karma so that we can begin to take on collective karma. That's just the nature of being a 4th density civilization. Is we've got to start dealing with our own collective karma. And you might be like, wait a second, I never dropped a bomb on any Palestinian. No, you did not. I hope not. I didn't. Right? We didn't sign that check and say, yeah, you know what? Let's spend our hard-earned tax dollars on that, right? But just by nature of association, okay? And in fact, as much as you might hate that fact right now, that we are here to deal with the collective karma of the American experiment, if you could go back to the time before you came here, you would know that's the reason why. Surrendering to the journey, release control, okay? You're not going to be able to control the narrative, and you need to be able to ignore that, okay? Take the actions that are right to you. Don't worry so much about what other people think you're doing. As long as you know who are your allies and who are not, you got to release control, okay? You've got to... This is a journey across water, okay? Let me kind of meditate on that for a little bit so I can get and the dragonfly here. All right. So one of the things that you're being invited to do right now, like on a very personal level or in conversation with people who you trust, talk about what this is making you feel, okay? Because it's almost like seeing through a narcissist for the first time. Like, oh my God, the whole time I really thought that they were trying to repair our relationship, but it turns out they're only looking out for themselves. There's the mental reality, and then there's the emotional reality of that. Okay, deal with the emotional reality that you're going through right now. There's going to be like really, really deep. I feel like there's a big part of this collective that when you start looking deeper into the history of our nation, it is going to hurt your heart. And I'm not just talking about the history of slavery, the history of the Native American genocides. I'm talking about the history of the 20th and 21st centuries, okay? The way that this entity, the United States of America, has acted on a world stage, and understanding, and this feeling that you may not even understand of collective connection to that act. It's gonna make you feel sad. All right. But pay attention to the fact that there's so much in this card right now. Okay. This is a very hermit energy, and this is the inner light. This is not just information about the world, but this is information that guides your path. Okay. So, by the way, I've got windows open. I don't know if you guys can hear the trains. I will go back and watch this later. Ooh, the white owl. Do know that you are guided. Look to older folks. If you're having a really hard time coming to terms with, I don't know, the history of the reality of where we are right now politically and historically as a nation, talk to older folks. Talk to older folks about what they have witnessed, about the cycles that they have lived through, and how they have come to terms with this conflicting reality. Okay? Of, yes, I am an individual who has a certain set of beliefs and virtues, and yet I have been manipulated into supporting something that is very much against my beliefs and virtues. All right. So surrender to the jury, do the emotional work now. Okay. So that you can have that cleared out by the time, I don't know what this means, but by the time it is time to act. Okay. Ooh, you stand in the light of truth. Oh, look at that. She is literally moving from the dark banks here. I wanted to say it, that she was heading towards that castle and like this area over here, but I didn't. I don't know why I didn't say that, but maybe I was like, oh, that's awful optimistic. But the truth is, that's where she's heading. I don't know why, you guys, but I'm getting Rats of Nim. Okay. It's a movie that I grew up with, The Rats of Nim. So it's from like the early to mid 80s. And it's about these mice that live on a farm and they need to relocate their house. And they end up in a very sunny valley like this after a crazy journey to get there. Okay. And betrayal will be revealed. Right? If you're setting off with a team right now and you feel like, and when I say a team, I'm talking about other collectives that you may join in the movement towards social change. Okay? You may set off on a journey with a particular collective and in that process reveal some betrayal within the group, okay? I don't know why, but that's just what happens in Rats of Nim. That's what's coming through. Like I said, I grew up with it, but I've been watching it recently with my grandson. And my son thinks it's super creepy, but you guys, I love the Rats of Nim. All right, discovering truth. The first thing that is popping out to me is I feel like this is a much more collective reality than what we exist in now. Why do I also feel like this guy is this guy? Yeah, he has escaped the death cult, whatever that means to you, right? Take it as it resonates. And I feel like he's in a land where instead of relying on some like monolith of a government, of an ideal, this is a very local and collective, I almost want to say economy or reality, okay? This is, oh, and look, you guys, turn to your elders, all right? Your elders have so much information that's going to help you out right now. And I realize I might be talking to somebody out there who considers themselves an elder. Please know that there's always more wisdom that can come through from the previous generations, okay? There's road signs here. I feel like this guy, and this is, let's call him the everyman, okay? Meaning that he just represents all of us, many of us in the American collective right now. He's in this situation where he is just bombarded by information, false information, misinformation, but it seems a little too familiar. And he's like, you know what? I'm not getting caught up in this again. I am laying down my sword and I am taking off. I'm crossing these waters. I don't know that this literally means crossing waters, you guys, okay? I do not at all feel like this means let's all become refugees. That's not what I'm getting, okay? But I've gone off on an emotional journey where I stopped looking at this like this false icon on high that is going to deliver all of the answers and solutions to us. You do the journey where you mourn the loss of that idea, and what you find is comfort in community. It turns out everything, most of what you need in order to live a really good life is within your own reach. It's surrounding you. It is I don't know, you guys, it is on the other side of this journey. But just like if you're in a narcissistic relationship, Okay? Not only do you have to learn to see through that when you discover that that person is actually a narcissist, but you have to really kind of find a new way of getting answers, getting information, getting what it is that you need. Choose love, you guys. Let your love become, sorry, I wasn't paying attention to where that was out on screen. Let your love become a powerful force for change, okay? I do want to show you, you guys probably already saw, we have progress, ooh, and we have action. All right, so I feel like, ooh, all right. What I just heard is it's just like when you're doing some spell work, you really want to refine your intention, okay? You don't want to do something out of fear. You don't want to take action out of fear. You want to take action out of love. Now they're taking me back to the first precept of the law of one. The moment contains love. If you're looking at the moment that you're in and you can't find the love, go within. Meditate. Find that love. And I really do feel like that is the force that is moving forward. This is a very ethereal, it's not a real unicorn. Okay, this is a force, this is an energy that is moving forward, and this is where it leads, okay? Upward and onward. All right, these are the self-care cards, by the way. So that's a message that wanted to come in. But here's the final thing that I want to share with you. I did pull out my Galactic Heritage cards, and I was doing a bit of a shuffle. Sometimes these messages come through intuitively. Sometimes I have to go to the book. I've got 2 cards that popped out. And for one of them, I've got an intuitive message. For the other, I'm going to go to the book. This message right here, it says alone time. It is going to feel very much like we are alone. You guys remember like a month or 2 months, maybe 3 months ago, everybody was like, oh yay, the aliens are here. They're in the Gulf of Mexico. They're going to help us out. They're not here to take over. They're not here to disenable us. They're not here to take over our mission. They're here to support us at a distance in our mission. How can they do that? By transmitting cosmic energy that we can receive through our base chakra, okay? But if you try to look around and be like, all right, when are you guys going to show up? When do you like write in and save the day? That's not what's going to happen, okay? This is as humans on this planet, this is our journey to take, okay? Now, why are they here then? Because there is a long history of our galactic family. Long story short, this is their collective karma as well. It is a piece of their collective karma as well. All right. The real message, the sort of like warning that wants to come out, is this message on Black League patterning. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the book and read this here. The Black League, by the way, was, if you have heard anything about the Orion Wars, you can read about it in the works of Lisa Royal Holt. There's her name. Let me get that focus. All right. She's got a website. She's got lots of great information there. The books I have on my bookshelf right now are Millennium, The Prism of Lyra, and The Golden Lake. Okay. But she really, really goes into the history of the Orion Wars. And Black League, I think specifically refers to a rebel group let's just get in here. The secret Orion Society fighting the negative forces was called the Black League. All right. The way that I've had this Orion Wars history, pardon me, described to me is like, think very much of like Darth Vader and the Empire. All right. So the Black League is very much like the rebels. In fact, she even says this here. They operated covertly and were a major force for inspiration and hope. A pop culture metaphor would be like the Jedi Knights from Star Wars. You likely have had experience with this group, which is why you came back to this planet to do it again. And this latent tendency of resisting authority or fighting for peace is a deep karmic pattern. Today, it is important that this polarity of us versus them be healed. Shift your focus away from light and dark scenarios. Begin to see reality in a unified way, with all manifestations being an equal and valuable part of creation itself. Okay? There is a purpose to all we are going through right now. That's another message that really wants to come home with surrendering to the journey. We came here to this planet at this time for a reason. And it has a lot to do with healing our own galactic collective karma. Okay, I can't even begin to go into the history of the Black League at this point in time, especially since I'm kind of at the end of this video. All right, but basically, this is a group of mystics, right, who got together to try to fight the big dark force that was at the center of the Orion Wars. All right, so they had to learn the folly of living in polarity, which is what you do when you fight darkness. Ooh, this is good info. So even though the Black League eventually transcended polarity and healed itself, many beings out there who had lives there brought this polarized energy to Earth, and it is playing out here. On Earth, we can see it playing out through secret societies who believe they fight for freedom from tyranny, religious extremist groups who believe they're liberating people, and any group or person who views reality in a polarized way and fights the side they label as negative. This only perpetuates polarity. So this is actually, this, you guys, I feel like this is really big when it comes to the conversations that we're having online with people. All right. I think that there's a lot of othering going on. All right. The people who support the forces that you are opposed to, understand that they are human beings as well. Treat them with the same love and compassion you would a victim of their oppression. Understand that it's not always black and white, us against them. All right? What is the phrase? Like, when you peer into the darkness, don't become it. All right? Make sure you're staying grounded. Make sure you're staying alert and aware as much as you can. But very much the biggest forces that we're going to need to be dealing with at this point in time are internal. We're doing some healing after the death of a dream, if you will, the death of an illusion. And that is very much just a part of the growing pains that we can expect to experience during this time. Thank you guys so much for being here and giving audience to this message. If you guys have any questions at all, definitely drop them down in the comments section, and I will see you all very, very soon with love and light. Be well.